Ready to go? All right. We will call to order the regular committee of the whole meeting. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Can we begin with roll call, please?
Councilmember Shemmers.
Here.
Witt. Here. Seeley.
Here.
Davis. Here. Oprin.
Here.
Mussman.
Here.
Kearns.
Here. Okay, our first item on the agenda, USA Concerts, Tailgate and Tall Boys. We have Wayne and Danielle here, but I think Josh Eggers, our Parks and Rec Director, is going to kick it off here to start us out.
Yeah, very good. Mayor Council, Josh Eggers, Clinton Parks and Recreation. I'd like to present to you tonight a major opportunity for the City of Clinton and potential partnership with USA Concerts and Events to bring what's called a Tailgate and Tall Boys Music Festival to our beautiful riverfront. With me today we have Wayne Klein, who is the president owner of USA Concerts and Events. He has Danielle Birch, who's the promoter assistant, and I believe online we have Billy Cowell, who's actually the founder of Tailgate and Tall Boys. And then he's also their talent buyer, so they'll be representing the Tailgate and Tall Boys tonight. So, in what initially started with an idea to host a major concert on Riverfront, then led to some connections where Mayor Scott met with Brent Smith, who's a local business owner, which continued on to a connection with radio personality Red Hot Brian Scott, and then ultimately led us to Wayne and his team at USA Concerts and Events. From there, Wayne and his team came to Clinton, along with Mayor Scott, Leslie Webster from the CVB, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and myself, and we all met and determined that Clinton's Riverfront would be an ideal location to host a music festival with USA Concerts and Events and what would be called a co-promotion, which we call co-pro. I learned that as we were meeting. At the March 30th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, a unanimous vote was given to approve bringing forward to City Council for this concert. And this series fits perfectly with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which specifically calls out more and better use of our festival space. And as I said in our council report, this is the epitome of use of our festival space with this production. With that, USA Concerts and Events and their proven track record have generously agreed to be a full production 50-50 partner for the music festival, as they see a lot of potential for success here in Clinton. This 3-day concert series would bring in some of today's hottest country music artists right here to Clinton. I will turn your attention now to President Owner Wayne Klein and his team of USA Concerts and Events, and he can talk more about exactly what Tailgate and Tall Boys Music Festival is all about.
Thank you, Josh. Mayor Council, I'm Wayne Klein with USA Concerts, which puts on Tailgate and Tall Boys. I've got a little slideshow. Where's it going to be? It's thinking. Okay. Sorry.
Just give me that signal.
Okay.
Can you see
Is
it
it
on
not?
the screen right there? Here. The little one?
Yeah.
You can turn that monitor.
Okay. All right. My vision's not the greatest, but okay. This is our team. I'm Wayne Klein. This is Danielle Birch. Billy Cowell is on the screen, like Josh said. We have a few that's not with us. You can kind of see what they do. We have ticketing, marketing, vendors, logistics, festival security directors, festival site engineers, all the good stuff you need to put on a festival. Okay, what do we do as a company? I mean, we put on music festivals, shows everywhere from, like I said, music festivals all the way to, arena shows to little club shows. But it starts with networking and with the agents and artists. You have to have the relationships to get the shows. Money does talk, but relationships go a lot further than the dollars. Tailored event planning. So coming into your wonderful city of Clinton, you have a gorgeous, riverfront there that you're wanting to put this festival on at. We come in, we tailor it to what that can handle when it comes to capacity, everything, from that to traffic flow to everything you need to put on a festival, from top to bottom, of the artists to the security to the traffic to the, the hotel stay, where's camping, do we have enough parking, staffing, sponsorships, vendors, the food and beverage management. What else we got there? I mean, there's a lot that goes on with it, but if you put it in this beautiful little, 10 to 12 little bullet points, it's if we got everybody handling everything, it goes pretty smooth. This kind of gives a history of where we've been. It's established 6 years ago by Billy Cowell. He's on the he's that little circle there. But he you can kind of read through that and see what it does for your bringing a festival like this to your city, how it kind of impacts the the economy, how many people we do, like how many people travel to your city, to local vendors to promote their products. That's a huge thing. We try to stay as local as we possibly can. Yeah, so there you go. You can see the history. This is the artist that we've worked with. I mean, as you see, it's kind of hard to see on that, but I mean, anywhere from Kid Rock, Morgan Wallen, we have this year, Brett Michaels, Aaron Lewis, Florida Georgia Line, down to Mitchell Tenpenny, Jelly Roll, Ludacris, Nelly. We've worked with tons of artists. This is just a nice little list that kind of gives you an idea. We've worked with way more than that, but that's a good start. Here's some photos of what we've done in the past. That's a map. That's a map of. That's not the updated map, but it's pretty close to the map that we're for this year in Bloomington. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's. If I had a pointer, I could show you, but you can kind of. I don't know if you can see it, but it's main stage, side stage. We have like our vendor alley. Yeah, that's main stage. Then the side stage, you go straight up from that. Straight, yeah. There you go. Yep, that's the side stage, and if you go all the way back, that's kind of our vendor area. How many acres is that, Daniel? You know?
24.
That's 24 acres right there. Okay, and then all to the right, there's the full hookup electric camping. Well, not full hookup; it's electric. It doesn't have bathroom or the plumbing. And then in the green is tent camping. And then we have just primitive camping up to the right there. So that kind of gives you an idea of the festival grounds of what we would be looking for. It doesn't always have to be together, but that's kind of what you need. I mean, you need parking, you got to have the area, and then you have to have an area for camping. So we can split that up throughout the city also. It doesn't always have to be right in one area. We're just fortunate enough that they have enough property. That's our lineup for this year, if anybody's interested.
Tickets are on sale, right?
Yeah, they've been on sale since November of last year. Yeah, I hope so. That's the venue we were at last year. That kind of gives an idea of like if you saw the map for this year, that's actually at a fairgrounds with all the grass. This was our event last year. We tailored it just to fit Louisville Slugger Sports Complex. Obviously in between all their baseball diamonds and stuff, kind of gives a feel of where, you guys have baseball stadiums right there and stuff, so. And then, yeah, that's the stage. What else we got here? Yeah, that's kind of stuff that, we kind of went over all this stuff. Do you want to go over that with the possible dates and all that stuff?
No, you're good.
Okay. We went over competition over there at the Park and Rec a little bit. Just kind of lists what we're competing against when we bring a festival in this town. We definitely want to pick the right weekend. It'd be nice to route it with maybe another festival in southern Iowa or way out west or whatever, something out of our radius clause.
I have a question while you're on that slide. Do you have what is the average poll for the Mississippi Valley Fair or the Jones County Fair for their concerts? Do you know?
I don't have their numbers off the top of my head. I know the Mississippi Valley Fair is huge.
Yep.
That's one that we compete against every year for artists because it kind of drills our radius clause.
Yep.
And they don't mess around.
Yeah.
I mean, they put in the heavy hitters at their fair. So I'm guessing that I couldn't even put a number on it.
That's not information they share either.
Right.
Okay.
No, that might be public information for their. I don't know if is that a city-ran event, or is that private?
Yeah.
I
Jones
don't know.
County Fair is a board, right?
Yeah, Mississippi
So-
Valley Sky.
Probably same.
It could be. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. I was just curious.
And that is the
That looks
place
awesome.
we're trying to.
And I had one thing
To do it.
to surprise you. I was going to do this. If it works, probably won't because it worked earlier. Where's Thursday? Oh, this looks different now. Is it up higher?
I think it was up higher, yeah. I thought you were going to play it. I was getting ready to rock out.
Right here, right here.
There you go.
Sorry. I don't know, I might have to yell at Steven to see if we have, whoops.
We have sound, Steven? Not on that computer.
Oh, bummer.
Well, can you sing this, Wayne?
This kind of just gives you an outlook of what this was in 2021, first weekend of June.
Me too.
Yeah, this is at the Louisville Slugger Sports Complex. It's our first year at the McLean County Fairgrounds of the map that I
like
showed
the
you.
big screens.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Large stage.
Yeah.
This is how good I sing.
Yeah. Same here. I'm amazing in my truck by myself. It's like, man, I sounded good.
There you go. I guess you. Yes, you can't really do a whole lot there. And then go back. Was that the end of the slides?
So yeah, that's the end
Okay.
of the slideshow. That kind of sums up what we do very quickly. There's a lot more that goes on to it than that. I could sit up here for decades and talk to you guys about, putting on a festival, but that would bore you, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Our whole staff's excited to be here. My team of investors is super excited. We've been studying this area ever since the first time I came up and met Mayor Maddasion, and I love this area. I'm really good friends with one of the restaurant owners here, so myself, my staff, and my investors are super excited to be here. So thanks for letting me come here.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sure we'll.
I want to say one thing first too. Councilmember Oberon was there at our meetings as well. He was involved in that first meeting and going on.
One of the things, some may know my history. I was on Riverboat Days board for 25 years, and listening to how Wayne talks about things that are important to him, when he hit on security, and I want to pick on that one, but his head of security is a Illinois state trooper, and the second lead is another state trooper, and security is always a big high point of running a festival. And when you got state troopers running stuff for you, that really, really makes the whole piece, float a little bit better. And then when he goes and says, hey, we'd like to do a 50-50 co-pro, that would, Josh, looked at that too and said, "Ooh, wow, that's a big, selling point for me too, being part of that."
For them to take that much interest in us right off the bat, which they don't always have to do, to bring that to the table, and then when you see how these people are engaged on these videos and what this would mean to our community, this is such an economic opportunity for us. Just the hotels, the restaurants, the gas, the retail stores. I mean, this is a 3-day festival that's going to bring people to our town that may have never been here, making Clinton a destination point. And that, to me, is one of the main functions of Parks and Recreation and the Citizens Visitors Bureau, to bring people to our community. And what better event could bring this many people? When you look at a Finally Friday and they average about 5,000 people on a Friday, which is amazing, and that's just Clinton folks. Yep. You put something like this on the table and engage them the way that these concert series that they have with some of the biggest names in country. This isn't before they were big or after they're big. This is like right now when they're hot. My 16-year-old daughter is already planning in February time off for the Mississippi Valley Fair. That's just how important it is to these kids, and that's another population that we can tap into as well. So, what I'd be asking for tonight.
Hold on, I got a couple more things.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Just getting on a roll.
So this, I know you were doing great. This really started. Josh and I were kind of throwing ideas around about having a concert. Maybe down on the riverfront somehow, and then it kind of spawned into this, and I really do think this is a huge opportunity. And I know I've talked about Riverboat Days in the past and things like that, and why this is not the same thing, and we don't want to compare it to that. This is a different a different festival. It's going to be at a different time of year. But what this does is it allows us what we can't do with Riverboat Days. We don't have the relationships with the artists and the agents. We don't have the relationships with the security. We don't have all of those relationships at the moment. And this opportunity gives us the total package. It really gives us a chance to bring top-tier entertainment to our city for a great 3-day festival, and we're sharing the risk with a great partner that have proven success, and I think that we can be really successful working with this group as long as we keep an open mind and we keep going, and I think we're going to have a great overall receptive kind of tone from the community, and that's what I truly feel. So.
And one of the things that, as people talk, they're saying, well, is this going to be, 2022? No. We have a lot of planning to go through. We're talking 2023. We're not talking, in the next month or two putting together a concert of this thing. We've got a lot of planning, a lot of discussion. We have a contract to work through,
Yep.
So this is like step 2 of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point, Greg, too, because I'm sure there's other discussion that will entail. But I think what we would be looking for tonight, as far as what we'd be looking to move forward, would be to put a Summer 23 event together, grow the concert series, and today's ask would be council approval on entering in a 50-50 expense and revenue share contract with USA Concerts and Events for Tailgate and Tallboys Music Festival. I think that's what we'd be putting on the table, and then wherever the discussion goes is up to you. Yep. But that's, I think, what we'd be looking for tonight to move forward.
Okay. So I'll now, Councilmember Kearns, go ahead. Oh, I'd like to. Well, I guess you can make the motion. That's fine.
I just wanted to know real quick, what's the risk?
Yes.
Obviously,
We have a motion. Do we need a second?
obviously, we do have a motion. Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. To your question, what's the risk? So what we need to do is we need to work with the group here, and you can chime in if you want. Obviously, we need to work with the group to figure out what a budget would be for our festival, and then it's a 50-50 co-sponsorship, so we would be responsible for 50% of that. Now, that being said, whatever that budget is, it doesn't mean we have to have all of it up front right away. We need initial deposit money for artists that we choose and contracts wise, and then from there, ticket sales, sponsorships, things like that would start rolling in. So we should see a return on our initial investment right away, and then that money can be used as we go on. And I think 30 to 60 days is when the majority of the rest of the funds are due.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
so we would put 50% of the funds up first. That's for the artist only. That's not for all the other expenses that are involved in the festival, and then you would owe 30 days out from the first day of the festival, you would owe the initial funds, the other 50% of the funds, which the goal is that nothing comes out of your pocket at that point, because all the sales have came in and they can afford to pay the artist off.
Right. And then there's ancillary revenues that come with the festival in beer sales, food sales, that kind of thing, sponsorships, things like that.
Vendors.
So there's more revenue that would come in after the fact. So obviously the goal would be that your ticket sales would outpace your investment, or at least break you even, and then the rest of it is profit, right?
And then what happens, is there a rain date?
So it's rain or shine.
Rain or shine?
Yeah, every festival is rain or shine. Now, there is cancellation situations that happen because you have some
Derecho?
outrageous. So that's where you go talk to your favorite insurance guy, and you get insured for that.
Okay.
If the headliner doesn't go on, or you have to cancel, you get full refund. You can also get insurance to what your projections were, so that you would get paid back for all the money that you have invested in it and what your projections were. So if you thought you were going to do $500,000 a day in ancillary revenue, they would cover that also. It's expensive, but it's worth it.
We would make sure that we would get that insurance stuff. We want to make sure we're fully protected on that side.
Yeah.
And then cleanup?
Cleanup? Yep. There's
Cleanup.
Hard to sign up.
Yeah, cleanup. We try to have volunteers. We like to work with the local booster clubs, like the high schools, or any booster club. We like to get those, the football teams, the wrestling teams, the basketball teams, whatever's coming out there to help us clean up, and then we make a nice donation to that booster club.
empowerment through sports.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got plenty of great organizations in town that we could reach out
Yeah.
to for that type of stuff.
How many days prior to the festival do people start trickling in and activity starts? I assume how much prior to the festival do you have to start setting up?
So, you want to, I mean, it depends what grounds you're on, but I mean, we'll start setting up probably, I mean, a month before,
Okay.
at least like getting everything, hopefully getting everything delivered and, some stuff will be getting dropped off like a month before. And then we really start hammering it out probably 2 weeks before the initial start date. As far as people trickling in, we like to do like early check-in dates and
Yeah.
kind of throw a little party,
Yeah.
which that would be perfect
That's what I was
on your guys' amazing
curious.
stage down there. We do a little, Wednesday pre-party to get
Okay.
to get everybody there to get their wristbands, to cut down on traffic flow, to cut down on box office lines, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that helps out tremendously. We usually pick a couple local, areas, whether it be a grocery store, or bar, restaurant, or a car dealership that's looking to raise some traffic on a Saturday day. They could come in and do early check-ins there too. We'll probably start our early check-ins a month prior to the festival date.
Okay.
So.
The one thing, too, that he hasn't really hit on yet, they bring in a separate stage, and then our band shell would be the secondary stage for that, and that's what he's talking about. The secondary stage would be used the week before, the days before.
Probably the Wednesday before.
The Wednesday before,
or if
something
we have
like
any
that,
side
yeah.
stage artists, we would probably try to use that stage. I mean, you guys, made the investment on that stage. We want to use it. Not all our artists are a little weird, so sometimes they have in their rider what stage they want to play on, the minimum that they need. So we would put them on the main stage or whatever. And it's kind of, that's just a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
Would we have enough power hookups up in that area?
Generators.
Go ahead.
Generators?
Lots of them.
Yeah, we could go into the middle of a cornfield and put on a festival. We just bring in as many generators as we possibly. That's basically what we're doing at the McLean County Fairgrounds, and we have a great partner with Altorfer. I know they're local here, right?
I think in the Quad Cities.
Semi-local? Okay.
Yep.
So we would probably have our contact in Illinois reach out to the contact in Iowa, and we would go from there.
I bet a Lion will probably be more than happy to assist.
Make them a big sponsor.
Yeah.
Possibly. Never know.
Already met
Yeah, anybody local, like if you have somebody that's local that rents generators and all that good stuff, like I mean, we want to use as much local as possible
Yeah.
because we need their support. I'm an outsider coming in. I know that the city's behind us here, but nobody knows who I am. I want to come in and I want to meet them. I want to be good neighbors. I want to be good partners with the whole entire community. So we'll use as much of local as we possibly can.
You have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I worry about a 5-year contract. We only give our Lumber Kings, who's been here for 80-plus years, a 3-year contract. The investment in this, while it may be an investment, it could also be a loss.
Yep.
Considering the CIP that we just bitterly passed, and then we're flipping right around and spending a fair amount of money on something like this. Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic, but at the same time, I know the beating up that we take during our CIP, and this is just, to me, it's rough. It's rough. I guess I'll just leave it at that. But going from a 5-year contract here on something we've never tried, but we hold our own at Lumber Kings to a 3-year, it's interesting.
We don't have to do a 5-year contract. That was just the initial discussion that came up.
That's
so.
what I saw in writing, so that's what I'm
Right,
basing my
right.
knowledge on.
Right.
I mean, we don't. I mean, 3 years would probably be minimum. 5 years is kind of in the middle there, but I understand what you're saying. But yeah, 3 years would probably. You want to test the waters. You don't want to just come in and have this, Hail Mary the first year and then hope to God it works. But
Well,
I think 3 years would be minimum. But I understand what you're saying.
We would take 50% of the profits, but we'd also take 50% of the loss.
Correct.
And if you set through our budget here recently, you'd understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, so that's way over my head. But I mean, 3 years.
Is that
3 years would work. Also,
the 50/50 is only for the first year?
no.
That would be for the next 3 years?
Yeah,
or
and if you
whatever
want to do
length of
something where we
contract?
renegotiate that each year, I'm open ears. We've had all sorts of different types of contracts. Most of ours is 5 years. That's why I said that the first time. But
Okay.
if it ended up being a 1-year contract, we can come here and knock it out of the park and hope we can get to that 5 years. I'm not opposed to that either.
So are there any years that you like took a complete wash on it?
Oh yeah, I mean this isn't a guaranteed
No,
home
I
run.
understand it's not a guarantee, but is that larger number than gain? Like you don't lose more than you win, right?
Yes, yeah, right. Yeah, we don't lose more than we win. No, that's the obviously the goal. I mean, there is losing years, but there's winning years, and we have, for my company, we have numerous things going on. That we might win over here, lose over here, gain over there. So just to be transparent, but I mean, our goal is never to lose, and we study it to. I mean, we're like studying it to like the mad scientist of wanting to know exactly what's going on in the area, like what ticket prices it can afford, how many people can we come, how many people do we think the artists are going to bring in, and then we look at the budget. And my goal is always to break it even on half of what we expect. That's what our goal is. That's what I've told Billy when I started this company. Billy's been the founder. He's been here a lot longer than me. But that is what I've told him from the very beginning of me starting this company, because if you go all in and think that it's going to do this and it doesn't do that, then you're at a huge loss. If you can, at the halfway point, it's not as bad.
So one other question on that, because I have a lot of friends that go out to Jones County and they don't stop if it's raining. They just put on their rubber boots and off they go, or they kick off their flip-flops and they're running around barefoot. But do you have a guarantee with the vendors that they will stick around as well? Because you want food and drink vendors even if it's raining, if the concert's still going to go on.
Yes, the vendors will be there.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as it's safe. Safety is our number one priority. Yes. As long as the venue's safe to be at, they're going to be there. They're not going to waste their time and money setting up and then leaving. As far as the bar and the food and bar, like, or the beverage side of things, that's us. We're going to be there. Yeah, we're not leaving.
All right.
You're not going to walk out, right, Mary? You're going to
No, I'll be there.
I understand what you're saying, though. Yes, there is losses. There is risk involved in this. There's, like, say you have, $1 million in a festival or in a show. There is real risk to that, but it's not the whole, $1 million isn't the whole risk unless you don't have insurance and it gets canceled, and then, you lose the whole thing. Yeah. That's why you have insurance.
Thank you.
I guess my question to you, if this gets approved today, what's the next step?
Yep, the next step would be to work on the contract with them. And then we would also have to determine the budget and kind of what we expect the budget to be for the event. And then at that point, if I'm speaking correctly, we would need to hit the ground running and try to figure out what artists we want to get sooner than later, so that we have a...
But the contract would come back.
The contract would come back first, yes, sorry.
So you read my mind.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
And I like the 5-year mark because it shows the commitment from USA Concerts to hang with us and not do a short-lived piece. So, and I understand that the piece of Lumber Kings in here, but the Lumber Kings also, because there's a lot of moving parts with that. But here is, when I saw the 5 years, I thought, wow, they're in it for the whole to win it. And as you guys said, Wayne said very eloquently, is you don't go into business to lose money. And there's risk and everything, as Councilmember Mooseman brought up. But when we were talking about this, I stole it from a movie, but it's like when the husband asked the wife, let's go to vacation to Italy, and she goes, can we afford it? I don't think we can afford not to. Yeah. This is something that since the day I arrived here, people have been asking about. And so this is a chance we have to lower our risk in half, to do this with a quality company with UA's Concerts and Wayne and crew to do this. What better way to try to run this? And as Councilmember Oben said, it's next year. It gives us time and space to start to work, get the contract solidified, get the word out. They market, which is, I don't know, back in the Riverboat days, I thought you guys internally were marketing, right?
Right.
This is marketing here, plus we'll all be marketing, but this is what they do for a living. It's probably a great thing that this endeavor happened at the back table a few weeks ago, and you guys linked up. So
yeah,
I think too, the mayor was very adamant too that this is something that would be facilitated through the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So we would be like the main funnel point to get information back and forth would go through them. So it's not just myself or it's our team, our Parks and Rec Advisory team that
busy.
unanimously supported this endeavor to move forward. So we're very optimistic. So
right.
And
Go ahead.
the other thing would be, with them being as popular as they are, they'd have a big following.
Yeah, I think you saw the slide. They have like 80,000 plus following on their social media stuff, which is quite a few people. When you're talking about a festival that maybe has 20,000 attendees, right?
Yeah, this year we're looking at 20,000 attendees a day. The economical impact of that is substantial. I mean, I can't even put a number on that, what it's going to do for Bloomington this year, but I know Billy can actually, are you there, Billy?
Hey, Steven, can you unmute Billy?
I'm here. I just got my kid in the background.
Oh, hi, Billy. Can you tell? Do you remember the economical impact? The one that you did 12,000 a day at in Peoria.
No, but I do have a one of just like the most recent Morgan one of the one single day show, and the economical impact for that day was $13 million.
Jeez. Okay. So that's, I mean, the hotel tax, the fuel tax, the food and beverage tax, they're going to be patronizing your whole entire city. I mean, from me, like, I would just give everybody a warning. It's going to be busy. Your local bars and restaurants, your local gas stations. We have a gas station across the street from our festival grounds in McLean County, and the owner of the grounds went over there, the president of the grounds went over there and was like, hey, I'm just warning you, be ready. It's coming. Have fuel on back. Order more than you ever have ordered in your life. And even the beer company is they're putting a whole semi behind that gas station. Yeah. So, but yeah, for the risk for the city, like my personal risk is 50%. I don't have, an economical impact for myself. I'm not going to get, the gas station guy's not going to go drop me off, a $10,000 check for his taxes. So the city, they have a little less risk, I would say, involving in this. I love this area. I've been here a few times, and that's why I came with a 5-year contract, and that's why I'm even here today to bring our festival to this. When they asked me, I was honored, and I came here and I went back to my team, and I'm like, holy cow, this place is amazing. I've never really walked around. I just would go to Candlelight Inn, look at the beautiful river, eat lunch with Matt, and then hang out there and maybe play a little backgammon for a little while and then leave. So I really feel that even if let's say we lost 200,000 on the festival, and so I lose 100, you guys lose 100, it's a major win for you guys. Just with the economical impact. That could be year 1, and year 2, we crush it, and you get the economical impact. Year 3, and just keeps rolling. You have to get some momentum going. That's why we're going to be super careful. Year 1, try to take the risk down as much as we possibly can, and get those artists that actually sell tickets, not just spot. We're not just filling spots. We're going to make sure every artist we have for this festival sells tickets. So, any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Shemmers.
Yes.
Whip.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Oberon.
Yes.
Mussman.
Yes.
Kearns.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. So we'll get to work with Josh and myself. Yep, starts now, and we'll work on the contract, and we'll get it done as quickly as we can, get it through legal, and then back to the council here so they can take a look at it and make a final decision. Cool?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for
All right.
coming.
Thank you very, very much for driving up again. We appreciate it.
Drive safe.
Yes,
Thank you, Josh. All right, moving on to the next item. Matt, you're kicking off here.
I just have the easy part. I'm going to introduce Travis. So we've worked with the University of Iowa for some time on lots of different projects, and I'm not going to steal the thunder all from Travis. But when we saw this, actually downtown Karen and I reviewed this with Travis. We thought this would be a great opportunity to bring it to the council, to work with some of these young men and women at the University of Iowa on a variety of projects over the next year. And so I'd like to now bide my time over to Travis.
Okay, thanks very much, Matt. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Travis Kraus. I'm an associate professor in the School of Planning and Public Affairs at the University of Iowa, and but I'm not here about that role. I'm here in the capacity of a different role, which is the director of an engagement program called the University of Iowa's Iowa Initiative for Sustainable Communities. And this engagement program brings faculty and student resources from our university to communities across the state. And we've been doing this for a number of years now, and I'm excited to be. I find myself in this room pretty regularly now somehow, so I'm happy to be back here. And Councilmember Seeley, I'm happy to see that you dressed for the occasion as well. So thanks for that. Showing some Hawkeye love, I appreciate that. Yeah, cool, nice, cool. We've just been working with Clinton, actually, really since I joined this program in the university about 6 years ago, and we've been doing 2 or 3 projects a year. And they've been just really wonderful partnerships and opportunities not only for our students, but I'm happy to hear that the work that has been accomplished in Clinton has been useful and has led to some positive impacts and opportunities. And I do have, if you want to skip ahead to the next slide here, just some examples. I don't know how many projects altogether we've had, but we've been in Clinton every year, as I mentioned, a couple of projects each year. And you can see an example of some of the things we've done here. The mural that's about a block away from here, that was a University of Iowa MFA student that actually pretty much launched a career as a muralist here in Clinton and is just painting every building in Iowa as far as I can tell now. So we've had planning students. Yeah, exactly. She may be back here, yeah. So we've had planning students working on economic development planning, brownfields planning, and we've had a lot of civil environmental engineering students here, and we currently have some here this semester as well, working on downtown building rehabilitation, developing designs, which I've heard have been helpful for talking with developers about investing in those properties. So that's really okay. Cool. Yeah, that's exciting. That's really great. If you're interested, you can click on the logo there and see that we have been uploading these projects to our website. Oh, you'd have to probably start the slideshow. I was supposed to do that. There you go. So as we put all of our projects up. So that's always a resource to go to just to kind of understand the types of work that happens and the quality of the work that happens through these engaged learning courses. So as you can see here, there's dates too. So I would encourage you to just kind of scroll through this site. You can see the final designs, final reports, all the engineering designs, cost estimates, those types of things. And so as we continue to work with Clinton on 1 or 2 really cool projects each year, Matt and Karen and I met and thought, why don't we just do the full package thing? So IISC, that's the acronym of the program that I run, works with communities a couple of different ways. One way is that we do a couple of projects, standalone projects. We just hear this is something that we have going on. We have some capacity to do this, but the main thing that we do is partner with 1 or 2 communities each year and bring a whole bunch of resources into that community with the idea that energy and kind of coalescing around an initiative generates a lot of excitement and increases kind of this transformational impact that we hope to accomplish. So we've done that, this program formed in 2009, before my time. I've been doing it for about 6 years, and we've had 16 of these community partners, but also have been in 50 communities across the state. And we, as you can see here on this map, we find ourselves in eastern Iowa quite a bit, but we really do, as the University of Iowa, try to serve the entire state. 50 plus communities where we've had some project, but 16 where we've done this, what we call a full partnership, which means that we do 15 to 20 projects just in that one place. So that happens once or twice a year. We just don't have the capacity to do that a lot of times each year. We work with, so I'm in planning and public affairs, and I've been a planner and I've been an economic developer before coming back to the university. But we don't work just with planning students or public affairs students. We work with art students and law students and engineering and business, cinema arts. So we really want to match the challenges, opportunities, needs that you have with resources on campus. And you don't need to know how campus works or what those departments are. We just need to know what types of things are you trying to accomplish here and where can we plug in. So here are the communities that have been those full partners that I mentioned. We're currently partnering with, as you can see, small communities, large communities like Waterloo and Iowa City. We've also had counties and regions. This year, I happen to be partnering with a county, Jackson County, Iowa, so kind of spreading the love across the county to a lot of the smaller communities. And we're working with a regional organization, the Maquoketa River Watershed Management Authority, really thinking about how do we address water quality and flooding issues, using a lot of really creative techniques as well. So I mentioned the types of departments that we work with, and just to kind of remove the kind of mystery of what this partnership looks like, we put together an example of the types of projects and the types of departments and disciplines that form this partnership, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the only opportunity you have. I've worked with criminology, for example, but we do pretty consistently hear about what communities are looking for, and that kind of points us toward this list of departments. As I mentioned, we would do at least 15 projects in Clinton, but it doesn't necessarily, 15 tends to be on the low end. So for example, in Jackson County, I think we're at like 26 projects altogether. We have a lot of faculty veterans that will do this every year, and they're very committed to not only like advising their students and guiding them through the process, but ensuring that the quality of the work at the end meets your needs and expectations, right? So we don't just hand over like, here's what the students do. There's definitely a quality control kind of check to make sure that that we're putting our best foot forward as a university and that we are giving you high quality final deliverables. So this is a little bit, this is kind of getting in the weeds a little bit. I don't know how much information you wanted. But we do.
What I provided all the council members underneath their computers is a little checklist piece. Did you not get one? Is yours gone? I'll get you one. But inside of it is all what Travis is telling, and then you can make your wish list, because Travis, Karen, and I have already come up with some ideas, but we put them aside, and we want you guys to kind of read through this. Based on your approval tonight, of course, and then write down what you think would be good projects in those categories, and you'll see where the little parts are. You can fill that in all the different areas. So we have probably more projects than we have time, and one of the biggest ones that we want to figure out, though, is making sure that we have the right people on this end that can link up, because really the success of the program is, you know, Karen's been helping out a lot on these projects, or downtown Karen, but having somebody in Clinton that the students link up with, the faculty advisor links up. Yep, so that's your homework assignment if you guys, you know.
How many projects can we focus on?
Well, right now it depends. But so I think the number, I won't give you a number. What I give you is you guys go through and do your due diligence on that sheet and ask me any questions, and we can ask Travis as well. And then we'll see what we have as a need that's out there, because I don't want to even give away anything that we've been talking about, because I want to just have your guys' ideas, but because we think this is a great piece that could really help us, you know, whether it be, you know, wayfinding or ADA stuff or, you know, planning side of the house. It's just too many to enumerate, so I think it'd be great for you guys to take a shot at this and make sure it makes sense. But yes, sir.
Councilmember So 2 questions. For that piece you were just talking about, you want it today, you want it tomorrow, you want it next week, you want it 2 weeks
before you
from
leave
now?
tonight. No. Okay. No, I think you could take some time, because what we'd like to do is, if we move back to real quick here, is what we like to do is, I think I put it on there, go back to where we were.
And that's kind of like the second question is, you know, we want to get the memorandum of agreement done.
Yep.
That's something that needs to be done in the same time frame as getting the projects identified, so the memorandum of agreement has the projects?
Yes, and there's a little flexibility, because one of the things we talked about.
Actually, that we've kind of reversed the process a little bit, and so it is a little strange to like enter into a partnership without having finalized what it is that we're going to do for sure together. But we have discovered that there's plenty of things to do. There's plenty of work to do, and we're really looking for communities that will be strong partners in terms of like understanding that like there is kind of investment of staff time. I mean, there's a financial investment, of course, as well, and then but really like we're co-creating these things. It requires like people that are investing time and energy and working with students. So as we've become more comfortable with starting these partnerships knowing that we're going to get there with the projects. So we don't need necessarily to have finalized what those 15 are. We just, in the memorandum of agreement, you would see that it refers back to this community resource guide that says, this is the general guiding document that explains the partnership, and we're going to stick to that guiding document as it's described there, and identify the projects later. So,
And then part B of that question is, this starts, August, like we're talking about like a,
September, yeah.
It's like a fall semester.
Yes, sir.
And then spring semester, and most of this will be concluded, by the end of spring semester 2023, give or take.
pretty much, yeah. So there are things that work best in the summer, and it's possible we'll have an art student here painting another wall
When it's
this
not
summer.
freezing
So before
Yeah,
August.
exactly. Okay.
So we'll be meeting about that possibility here, I think this week, actually.
And we even talked about the film thing's really neat too, and it's actually our next topic is the Walk of Fame, but they actually will do live interviews with up to 6 Clintonians that are here today. And so that would be something we could maybe work with Synergy, which we talked about, to then pick out who those would be, do those interviews. So that, I think the world's our oyster. The biggest thing we want to make sure is that you guys are good to go at this point to bring a memorandum of agreement and get that signed. Knowing also when it talks about budget impact, yes, we do have 50,000 there, but it's based on each project because this is paying for their time and travel, et cetera. But when you look at what you're getting for what we're actually paying, we're getting this and we're paying that. So it's actually a really good benefit, and this could be future folks that we end up recruiting potentially to say, hey, why don't you come work at Clinton as well in some of these categories. So
It does happen.
yeah.
Is your presentation done?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
I was gonna make a motion to move it forward, because I was so excited. But,
Mike,
He was already marking on your sheet.
I would like to make a I was already taking notes. I was ready to
There's
go.
one other thing that I would mention that is that you can certainly reach out to other community organizations, and I actually I would encourage you to tap into other community organizations. It does not all have to be a project that the city chooses, right? So if there are nonprofits,
Perfect.
think about
Yeah,
others.
we looked at Grow Clinton, so our Grow Clinton is our
Right.
new organization, and
Yeah.
I'm going to give Andy that same document you
Okay.
guys have, so they can take a look, because, they have one's right behind you, they have a very small shop, and it'd be great as they can leverage others, say they're doing something in Liberty Square or something coming up, who knows? But I think that would be a great thing as well, to leverage that, because there's specific projects when we can have point-to-point with those nonprofits, it takes some strain off of other things we may be working on as a staff, so.
Okay. I'll make the motion to move this forward.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just one real quick, and I may have missed it, because I was talking to the counselor next to me. Is this similar to strategic planning?
Yeah, so what's also going to be neat about this is, as we go into goals and objectives here in the June timeframe, all this is, we're going to kind of layer this all together to make sure that these things that you're writing down that we can do with the University of Iowa students fit into what, as we move forward. So we don't want to start adding things in right field when we're over in left field. So this will be a really good time for that as well. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion items?
Thank you for making the trip all the way here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Shemmers.
Yes.
Whip.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Oberon.
Yes.
Mussman.
Yes.
Kearns.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right, thank you very
One
much.
thing that we didn't do is, when was the homework due?
Well, homework will be due probably next week, next Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
Because we're going to
Just
work
so
on,
that-
get the memorandum done, and then we're going to, and what we'll probably do is, because Travis, he's perfect on this, but we may actually invite you back in small groups just to talk about those things that you thought would be important to you, so that's just not me hearing from you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate Travis.
Thank you very much, Travis. We appreciate it. All right, next item, Francis Boggus, Walk of Fame.
Thank you for having me today. Appreciate Gary. We're going to step up. Our partners, and Leslie and Elijah Lorenz. He's our partner from Synergy. We have the school district, Convention Visitors Bureau, and the Synergy students, because I wanted to point out that our Clinton County Walk of Fame is having their inductions September 18th, Sunday. from 4 to 7 Eagle Point Lodge, and we wanted to submit the approval. We went through the nominating committee and selected 7 people for the induction this year, the class of 2022, the second year. And you can see from the list, Julie Allisey, who's formerly served here, Francis and Robert Bickelhoff, Marcus Childs. As you know, I don't have to go into the Bickelhoffs. They did the Arboretum, and you know what Julie's done in Clinton. Marcus Childs has also won a Pulitzer Prize in 1969, 1970. Karen Erickson was a star basketball player out in Wheatland. She traveled with the Globetrotters for a year in an all-girls basketball team. She was a pioneer of women's sports, and that's why she was selected. And Dave Hilmer's an astronaut who was born in Clinton and considers DeWitt his hometown. Dave Hilmer's also from the Clinton area. And Dale Gardner and Wilhelm Kerner, who was also born in Clinton, is a noted illustrator from the 20th century. So those 7 have been nominated. We need to go to approval. And I wanted to invite Elijah here because he submitted the nomination with Allie House from Synergy as our partner. So they submitted several nominations. We were very pleased with the input. And so we want to go before the council and tell us if you approve of all the 7 people we've nominated for induction into the Clinton County Walk of Fame for class of 2022.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this? Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Shemmers.
Yes.
Witt.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Oberon.
Yes.
Mussman.
Yes.
Kearns.
Right, and as you know,
That was easy.
Hometown Pride is moving forward. We have state funding for the year, and then Scott, I'll go through Lisa's separate appointment to talk about.
Oh, you can just reach out to me. That's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we'll get it set up.
We'll get it set
when you're
up.
in town. Are you next week in town at
Next
some
week
point?
I'm in town, Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, we can set some up either
Good.
day. Just shoot me a message with what you think is best for you, and then I'll make it work.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thanks a lot for your time.
I got one real quick question. I understand you guys are getting new football uniforms,
Yeah, I saw that in the field.
and how did you guys obtain those?
Have a relationship with David Johnson.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Things are turning around, and as you can see, and a lot of improvements here.
That's awesome.
All right,
That's
thanks a lot.
outstanding. Okay, thank you for being here. All right, next item on the agenda, Councilmember Shemmers.
The best for last, round 2. I'm conflicted on how to proceed based on information I received literally seconds before the meeting from our city attorney. And I don't know, Mr. Attorney, what?
So
You know our story here. So.
yeah, so I just want to reiterate what I said at the original committee of the whole. There was a interest expressed in specifying that we did not want these temporary dwellings in areas of town that are not zoned for temporary dwellings for long periods of time. Nobody was interested in stopping somebody from visiting their relatives in their $115,000 mobile home, and they roll into town and they, hang out for a couple of weeks or whatever on vacation, and they go back to wherever they came from, or helping out their grandmother, staying in their mobile home. What I was aware of when I was told about this was we had an issue in Burlington where somebody pitched a tent in C1. You can't be pitching tents in C1, right? It's not a zoned structure. Our zoning code says what a zoning compliant structure is supposed to be in each of the zoning areas. It's supposed to be connected to city water and all of those different things. And there's only one major limitation to that, and that's manufactured homes. Sometimes manufactured homes don't look the way we want them to look, but it's illegal to stop that. You have to allow manufactured homes. There's an actual state code that says manufactured homes cannot be precluded in R1. But it's already illegal. I just want to emphasize that. It's already illegal to live in a tent on private property or live in a mobile home on private property as if that's your residence. You're just going to take up residence there. So the reason the original ordinance was drafted the way it was just to say that if you lived, in the way the original ordinance was read, it said mobile campers, tents, shacks, mobile homes, or any other dwelling not specifically authorized by the zoning code. It was already assuming that it was illegal to do that. And I think there was a misunderstanding that there was this massive hole in our code where people could pitch tents or live in campers, and that was perfectly okay in Clinton. No, it was never legal in Clinton to do that.
Okay.
So we wrote the original draft that I wrote was just to say you could do that if it was specifically designated for camping or mobile home parks, right? We don't actually have a tent camp in Clinton. Some cities do. They'll have a place where you can pitch a tent. You pay a fee and you just live in a tent. You know, if that's what your thing is, it's a campground, right? For tents or for mobile homes. We only have the RV park here. So that was the only way you could camp in a temporary structure in the city of Clinton, which is normal. Most ordinances that I see are like that. So I just want to make it clear to the council before you guys launch into this debate that it's already illegal to live, even on private property. I know that seems like an anathema to some folks because you're like, hey, it's my property. I should be able to allow my cousins to go camp in the back 40 and just stay there, you know, forever, as long as they want. You know, and some people that have giant parcels, you know, that are semi-rural, you know, it's not that big a deal and nobody will notice and probably nobody would ever say anything to you, but it's already technically illegal. So all this was originally intended to do is to say you get 10 days you can do that.
Okay.
Right? And if you have a hardship, you can have some more time or whatever if you say I had to be here. Okay. Then it morphed into this. It went back to Neighborhood Improvement Committee, and we got into this discussion about whether we ought to have it be a nuisance. There has to be a nuisance first before we're going to trigger any enforcement. That, too, is already illegal if you have a nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all I'm saying is you don't actually have to pass this ordinance, and if it were, the only one that really truly makes sense to me maybe would be the first one that we came to the council with. Because that one says, even though we have a zoning code that says you can't live in temporary structures, as if that's your residence, our zoning code already says that. We were going to put some stipulations in there and say you could have 10 days or you could have however many long period of time council wants. 10 was just suggested. You could say 20 days or whatever you want. So when we got into all this second draft that came back from committee, you know, I don't make policy. This council can do whatever it wants, but we already have a mechanism to enforce our code the way it is.
Okay.
Number one, if you're in a temporary dwelling, you can be asked, hey, you can't do that. You can't hang your laundry out. You can't live in a tent. You can't be doing this. This is R1, you know. I have a nice house, and I don't really appreciate that you're camping there. You know, that should be illegal already in our zoning code. If somebody parks a camper and it just wants to live in it on your neighbor's lot over there, at some point, that's, you know, somebody in code enforcement will notice that and say that's not a legal structure. It doesn't meet the definition. It doesn't have a foundation. It's not hooked to city water. It's not a site-built home. It's not a manufactured home, which is allowed by the Iowa Code, so you have to leave. You can't just live here like that. This is cited for R1. It's not a campground. So I'm just pointing this out because maybe I didn't beat the table hard enough the first cow to make this point, but it's already illegal. Okay, so I just want to make that clear to everybody. We enforced that way in Burlington because the Burlington Code did not say thou shalt not live in a tent in C1.
I see.
The language did not exist. But there was in the zoning code for C1 in Burlington, it defined what a legal structure would be in C1. It had to be basically a piece of brick and mortar. It had to be affixed on a foundation. It had to have electricity. It had to have running water. It had to have all those different things if you were going to be in the commercial district. So we told this gentleman, you have to pick your tent up and leave even though you own that property. And the judge agreed. The judge said that just violates the zoning code. So what I'm saying is the original draft that said temporary dwellings prohibited, the new 159.055 that was proposed, all that did was provide additional clarity and give code staff some guidance to say when would they go out and say something. And the when they would go out and say something is, hey, we noticed you just been living here in this illegal structure for a long time. And we decided on 10 days, but you could, and my suggestion at the time was maybe change that to a longer time if you're worried about somebody comes from Arizona to visit their family, you may want to let them stay longer than that, fine, whatever, make whatever change you want to it, but.
Does our current code cover the city property issue?
Yes.
It does.
Because we have control of our right-of-way. We don't have to permit somebody to pitch a tent in the right-of-way
Or
on
in
city.
a parking lot.
Or in a parking lot, or an RV for that matter. We can say, hey, this is a municipal lot, you can't park an RV here for 2 weeks.
Yep. Well, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think, Matt, most of our municipal lots have, I mean, isn't it like 8 hours or less? Okay.
Yeah, so there's already a mechanism to enforce all this.
Okay.
The reason why this was kind of a neat idea is code staff was correct. They were just like, hey, if somebody's just there for a long time and should we do something? And if so, what should our standards be? And my answer at the time, the legal answer is, you can go out right now, day 2 of them being there, and say, that's not how long are you planning on dwelling there? At some point, it begins to look like more than just, hey, I'm just staying temporarily, and it looks like a dwelling. And we thought maybe just get rid of some of the arbitrariness. And now, the Neighborhood Improvement Committee, God bless them, they're aggressive, they want standards. They came up with this idea of having it be nuisance-driven. Well, you don't need to do that. I'm paraphrasing the Supreme Court. You know, I don't know what obscenity is, but I know it when I see it. Well, you don't know what a nuisance is until you see it, and you kind of know. Somebody hanging their laundry out in a residential area and camping in a tent. You already have a mechanism for that too, is what I'm saying.
Councilmember Shemmers, let's go to you. You had a comment?
Yeah, I mean, this really is information that came up real late, and we talked to Tammy, and I mean, you can see this is what, today? These are things that we're seeing on a daily basis out here, and it is worse in the summertime. However, due to a major lack of communication, I'm going to request we table this for 30 days. Let our city attorney sit down with our staff so they know clearly what we're allowed to enforce. And if we got to tweak what we have here, then we'll tweak it. But based on everything I was told literally seconds before we walked in here, everything we're trying to propose is already on the books. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If we can do it, let's do it.
Okay. Okay.
So that would be my recommendation.
It needs
All right. So that's a motion.
I mean, it is a decent piece of legislation because it gives people notice of temporary dwellings that they do violate the zoning code, and if you do that, we're not going to necessarily come tell you to immediately pick up your shop and leave, but we're going to say, hey, it looks like you're dwelling here. You're making this a semi-permanent or permanent arrangement, and we can't have that. Okay, we're in the city, and the cities have to have sanitation. You can't cut yourself a slit trench to get rid of your bodily waste and just sort of live on somebody's property with it in a tent, or an RV for that matter. You know, you can't be emptying your chemical toilet in the sewer, for instance, as Cousin Eddie did in the famous scene in the movie. That's what this was for, but we were basically saying not more than 10 days at a time. Can you do that? Right.
Okay. Councilman Roban, go ahead.
If I'm hearing everything right, basically, we have everything on the books, but it's not all together in one place that we can go and say, hey, temporary dwelling information.
Yeah, so if it's not apparent just to look at the zoning code that it's illegal to pitch a tent, because it doesn't say thou shalt not pitch a tent in R1. But there's a definition of what a compliant structure is in R1 that we have already. So the original thought was, and it was one of my colleagues at Lynch Dallas, I think, told code staff, there's nothing in the code that says technically you can't pitch a tent. But there is. It just isn't as obvious as you might, I have a lot of institutional knowledge, or a lot of historical knowledge with this type of thing, because I've enforced it, like I said, in other cities. And so You know, that's why this was drafted this way the first time, and then we went down this path of, well, maybe we just ought to be complaint-driven. Well, we already have a mechanism to make it complaint-driven if we want.
Our nuisance code.
A nuisance code. You know, so the practical reality is in Clinton, nobody cares if nobody's going to care for a long time if I have a big lot and somebody pitches a tent back there somewhere. It's only when somebody notices, hey, I'm smelling or I'm seeing some things that, you know, or this guy's tent went up in flames because he had a space heater out there or something with an electrical cord, then we're going to notice, well, kind of already have that ability. So if you're going to pass it, I'd almost think you go back to version 1 because that makes a lot of sense. Because you're kind of giving people some guidance and saying, we're not going to be totally harsh on you, but...
I'm guessing you had a recommendation,
It's
but
my recommendation. Being that this has been my proposal, I don't want to make the
Okay,
motion.
fair enough. So, we've heard this, Councilmember
I'll
Romer,
go ahead and make a motion to table per Councilmember Schemmer's recommendation for 30 days to give our legal team and our staff time to work through this.
Pat, just for clarification, does it matter if we table the item for 30 days, or do we need to postpone to a date certain and set that date 30 days from now?
Well, you could just set it for the same council meeting in May, which should be what is that?
Well, I pushed it back. I went to May 24th, the second meeting.
Okay, so that'd be, so.
Okay.
That would be a good motion to make, I think. And I can, in the meantime, I'll talk with Tammy and the code staff about how we can make version 1 work, if that's what the council's pleasure is.
Okay.
And what we can do if, we have other violations.
Needed, then, right? We don't need to do anything.
Tammy's comment to me, and I'm not going to speak for her, she's right there, but she basically said, I do have a lot to do already. There's a lot of things I'm looking for, and I don't want to be going around, driving around looking for tents,
Yeah, right.
So it kind of is, for those of you that like the idea of leaving people alone unless there's a nuisance, that's practically what she's probably going to do anyway.
Okay.
Is what I'm telling you, so.
Okay, and Councilmember Schemmer's 24th, you're good with that day? Okay. Would you like to amend your motion to?
So amended.
Okay. All right, so the motion is to.
Time certain to the 24th.
Yep, move this to the 24th meeting. Should we clarify business meeting or cow?
Cow.
Cow.
Okay, Cal.
Okay. Everybody, okay? So we have a second on that motion. Is there any other discussion?
No.
I want to apologize to the Neighborhood Improvement Committee for all the time they spent on this.
Okay.
Yes,
And the
I concur.
Planning Commission.
I think we're.
And Tammy spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
It's all right. Okay.
We learned about Oregon.
Can we have roll call, please?
Well, we did get our check in the box to go back through zoning, though, so if that recommendation's been brought forward, we've done our statutory duty, so there wasn't a waste of time.
Perfect.
Especially if we're going to pass the first version, we've got that covered, so.
And I only have one caveat that I'd like them to take a look, if we can add this in, is that 96.09, can you take a look at 96.09 when you do this? Because you can actually tent camp in a specific area in Clinton for 5 days.
Oh, really?
In a 15-day period that we came across. And I just want to address that. I'm not going to say where it
And
is.
that would, and Matt, that would be covered by the language that says,
But I think we need to clean that up out of the ordinance.
yeah, well, the original version said, in areas that are not otherwise allowed as campgrounds in the city limits, so that would, we have some good language in here in this draft already that covers that.
It was Willow, by the way.
Can we do roll call, please?
Yeah.
Councilmember Schemmers.
Yes.
Whip.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Oberon.
Yes.
Mussman.
Yes.
Kearns.
Yes.
Probably. Okay, we'll do mayor council updates real quick. Councilmember Kearns, I'm starting here this time.
I've got nothing. Thank
Nothing? Councilmember Mussman?
Over the weekend, Saturday, we had the American Legion Second District Conference. And at that time, Sergeant Scott Rahans was awarded the Officer of the Year for the American Legion.
Awesome.
And for Fire Department, Lieutenant Scott Winkle.
No, Ryan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lieutenant Ryan Winkle was awarded Firefighter of the Year.
Awesome.
And he also was just notified that he won Midwest Regional Firefighter of the Year and going to nationals.
Awesome.
And I'll say this for Chief Joe, that they also mentioned that there has never been anybody that's gotten it 2 years in a row. A town or a legion.
Awesome.
So, of course, we had last year
Yep.
was Adam King.
Awesome. Is anything else, Councilmember Musselman?
That's it.
That's a good update. Councilmember Oberon? I'm with him. With him? Okay. Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Seeley?
No.
Councilmember Witt? Councilmember Shimmers? Okay. I don't have anything either, so to entertain a motion to adjourn? For the cow, yep. We have a motion to adjourn? All right.
Second.
We are adjourned. Give us a few minutes, we'll set up the business meeting, and we'll be back with you.
Yep, it started working again.
Joel,
I was wondering if this
you should have seen what happened at the